My name is Becky Rauch, and I am meeting with you today to discuss some insights that I gained after conducting an industry interview with a man who has been successful in owning his own small business. But before we get into the details of how that interview went, let me tell you a little bit more about myself. If you go to the next slide, like I said, my name is Rebecca Rauch. You can call me Becky. I chose to come to UK about 4 years ago after looking into the campus and falling in love with the city of Lexington and the surrounding areas of horse country. I own a horse, and I wouldn't have been able to bring her with me to school if it wasn't for me choosing to come to Lexington. My majors are both sociology and marketing. I chose to double major because the understandings I gained in sociology I thought were really, really helpful for understanding the world of marketing and becoming a better marketer by understanding not only the customers you serve, but also the employees that you work with. And if someday to be a leader or a manager, understanding the people that are above you and below you. Sociology gave me that understanding, and marketing gives me an implementation that I'm passionate about when it comes to pursuing a career. If you go to the next slide, that is why I chose to interview Scott Lushin. Like I said earlier, he is a successful small business owner for a growing company. It's been booming for the last decade, and he has been in the industry since 1987, and he is also my uncle. I was able to call him up on the phone and get a really good interview that I was not expecting from him. If you go to the next slide, I'll give you some more background on Scott. He started in the field in high school at the age of 17. The education he first originally gained, the skills he gained, were from working hands-on with the machines. He was given a manual, and he learned how to program the machines to create the products that the company Coordinate Machine sells. So after working through high school, he went off to college at the University of Illinois and absolutely did not enjoy college, did not want that for himself, so he moved back home and began working full-time to prove to his parents that quitting education was the right decision for him. So he worked very hard on the ground levels of the machine shop until my grandfather, his father, passed away. Once that happened, he began to climb up the ranks and eventually take on management after my grandmother inherited the company. So once he became a manager, he really learned how to deal with relationships, deal with people, and become a leader. And that eventually led him to where he is today, partnering 50-50 with my grandmother in owning this business. If you go to the next slide, the specifics of his job, as he put it, I wear a lot of different hats. Being the owner of a small business gives you a lot of responsibilities. Not only do you deal with the customer interactions and building relationships with your customers, but you also deal with your employee base, dealing with their health care, their insurance, any issues that come up. He also is the expert in his business when it comes to programming. He said 99% of his business programming is done by himself, and then his employees go out and make the products that he programs into the machines. So he teaches all of those specific jobs to his employees as well. He also has to meet with an accountant on a monthly basis to look over the financials of his company, look at where there is growth, where there is areas of improvement. And finally, he does more busy work like ordering the materials, setting quotas, expediting jobs. The list went on and on. If you go to the next slide, one of the key themes that I noticed Scott bringing up again and again in his interview was how important building and maintaining relationships are. When he first started in management, that was something that he found very, very difficult to be good at, was building and maintaining customer relationships and building and maintaining honest relationships with your employees. One thing that he gave me as advice was to be consistent and to be honest. Even if you're honest about a flaw that you have in your company, people respect that honesty, and they will respect you for being honest and want to give you business. Another thing that he said is that customers are key, and the most important asset in your business. Without customers, you can't make a profit. You can't have a business. If you go to the next slide, one fabulous quote that I got from this interview was that interaction is the biggest challenge. Keeping both customers and employees happy is an easy way to keep your business successful. What he told me is that when you have customers that want to give you repeat business, and when you have employees that want to stick with you, you don't have to invest money and time into new employees that you have to retrain and have a cycle of employees coming in and out. Your employees want to work for you, want to stay with you, and want to give you their best work. And that makes owning and running a business so much easier. Not having the stresses of having to find new customers or find new employees is a huge weight lifted off of a business. If you go to the next slide, another thing that he brought up was being successful takes time. One thing that he told me when he first started the business is he had to put in 75, 80, even 100-hour work weeks. He'd stay up programming machines until 2 in the morning and get up and go back to work by 4 in the morning to get everything that he needed to get done in time to keep his business afloat. But the one great thing that helped him through all that was starting at the ground level, being able to start at the lowest level of his business, set up great fundamentals to then take on this leadership role of being an owner. Now everything is second nature. When he gets a challenge, when some error occurs, he knows how to handle it, and it's not even a difficult issue. I asked him about challenges in his business, and he said everything is second nature. Even a challenge is easy to handle now that he's been in the business so long. Finally, if you go to the next slide, the last theme that he brought up was having an exceptional product being a huge value to his company. The one thing that he focused on over growing his business and expanding to being too big to handle himself, he is focusing on being more efficient and having the best product quality out there. There's a lot of competition in this market of machines, and with him having a focus on exceptional product development instead of focusing on growing his business and gaining a larger customer base, he has repeat customers that know that he is the best, which is a great way to run business. He said that he has a lot of international competition, but he doesn't have to worry about it because of his focus on efficiency. So finally, to wrap up, if you go to the next slide, I summed up the advice that he gave me on being successful throughout our interview. And he said, especially with business, if you find something that you are passionate about, it's a lot easier to be successful, because with the time that you have to put into it, day after day, if you aren't passionate about what you're working towards, it's going to be a lot harder to reach your goals and a lot harder to not want to give up. Another key point that he told me was to always be honest. Like I mentioned earlier, honesty gains respect from your customers, from your employees, from everybody. Always, always, always tell the truth about where you are and what your goals are. Another thing that he pointed out was to be a leadership, you have to be stern. Although you do need to be understanding of where your employees are coming from, what situations they might be dealing with outside of the workplace, to have a product get completed efficiently and correctly, you must keep people doing what they're supposed to, which requires a level of control and sternness. But finally, he said, it is really rewarding to be a business owner, but it does take a lot of hard work. If you're willing to put the work in, if you have a strong work ethic, and if you're diligent, you will be successful and it will be rewarding. So finally, if you go to the last slide, when this is applied to myself and my own pursuit of a career in marketing, this advice that he gave me stirred encouragement and empowerment for my own journey. I am excited to get out in the career field and start working about a lower level of a business to gain the skills and tools I need to eventually pursue my own business ownership. So I feel like once I get out of college, that's where I'll start. I'll start in a marketing firm or in a lower position in a business and work my way up to learn how to become a leader, to learn how to deal with problem solving, and to learn what it takes to eventually be a business owner. Because business ownership can be a rewarding career, and that excites me. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.